Welcome to Midnight Mule FPL. I'm Midnight Mule and today is Christmas Eve and I'm trying to get this video recorded and then put up on YouTube before midday because that's around the time we have our big Christmas meal. We don't do it on Christmas Day because it makes Christmas Day too hectic. So Christmas Day we just have pizza, which is great because I love pizza. So anyway, I'm going to try and be as quick as possible in this video. I know sometimes I ramble on a bit too much like I am now. So I will try and be quick, but hopefully you'll be able to get the main gist of what's going on. This is the 5% video where if you just pick players that I'm showing you and bias towards the one that I'm saying you should be getting these ones, then hopefully you should do all right. All right, then let's get on with it. I've not even started drinking yet. As always, we start by looking at how the players did last game week 17. Sanchez 9, Sales 7, Pickford 7. That was pretty much it for the keepers. For the defenders, Aina 15, Robinson 6, Gabriel 4, Trent 4, Mikalenko 7, Burns 6, Harwood Bellis 8. Nice to see Southampton keep another clean sheet. I say that because I've personally got Ramsdale. Salah 21, very nice. Rogers 14, Luis Diaz 13. So pretty much if you had Salah as captain, you probably got a green arrow. Or if you didn't, but you had Rodgers and Salah in your team, you probably got a green arrow. And if you didn't have Salah, you were pretty unlikely to get a green arrow, but you may have done. Semenyo 8, Bowen 6, Gordon 6, Johnson 4. Then for the forwards, Isak 17, Kuna 9, Solanke 9, Havertz 6. And that's all. So we start by looking at the players in the system, and I'm going to try and be nice and quick today. Whether or not our manager, I don't know. So the goalkeepers, the four most important goalkeepers in the system are Raya, Sanchez, Flecken and Sels. Where as we go through this, the four positions, the keepers, defenders, midfielders, forwards, they're arranged in importance of how much damage they're going to do you, or I think they're going to do you if you don't own them. So it's largely based on ownership, but I'm also accounting for how many points I think they're likely to get. However, on the screen now, I'm showing you the damage they would do if they got 6 points and you didn't own them. So if you don't own Raya and he scores 6 points, that's like you get minus 1.6 because of his ownership. Whereas if you don't have Sales and he gets 6 points, that's like you get minus 0.5. But when we look at defenders, midfielders and forwards, the top ones of those do a lot more damage than minus 1.6. So it may make sense for you if you're wildcarding this week, let's say, because I don't know why else you'd change your keeper, for you not to have Raya and use that money elsewhere. But Raya is the best choice to have for a keeper probably at the moment, but it does take more money. Raya, so Arsenal have got some nice fixtures coming up, and he's quite good. Sanchez is also perfectly all right. He's still getting paid by Chelsea. He could get some clean sheets. Personally, I don't really care for Flecken, but he's in here because he's popular. So if he goes on a good run, he's going to do a little bit of damage. And then we have Sales. Forest can sometimes get clean sheets. And then the less important keepers, Fabianski's now down on this page. They're away to Southampton. There's quite a fair number of managers with Fabianski and someone else that's going to be very tempted to play Fabianski this week. If they do and he gets 6 points, that's only minus 0.6 against you. I've got Fabianski, but I don't know if I'm going to play him yet. I sincerely don't know for sure what I'm doing. Pickford minus 0.5. So clearly Pickford is a better keeper than Fabianski, and he's going to score more points than Fabianski. But he's another 0.8 million more expensive. If you've got Pickford, well done. He's a very good keeper to have. Henderson, he's 4.4. Martinez. So Martinez is 5 million, but he's very lowly owned. So there's really no point having Martinez. You should go for a cheaper keeper and just protect your points. And then Ward represents any 4 million keeper who never plays and just sits on your bench. For the defenders, Gabriel's the most important defender, 6.3. Then we have Trent at 7 million. So as you probably know, Saka's now injured, likely to be out for several weeks. So all engaged managers should absolutely be selling Saka this week. Even if it means you're taking a hit to move things around, it's still going to be worth it. His price is going to go down and down and down over the next few weeks. So if it means taking a hit, you just do it. But because Saka's quite expensive, that means managers now have money, so people are upgrading their defence. So Trent and Gabriel are gaining in popularity, and they were already popular. But now that people have money, a lot of managers are getting Trent and Gabriel if they didn't already have them. So what I'm showing here, if Gabriel gets 6 points and you don't own him, it's like you get minus 2.9 for him. And if Trent gets 6 points and you don't own him, it's minus 1.8. So both of these will do you more damage if you don't own them than if you don't own Raya. Then Saliba, and Gabriel and Trent had as green, so they're good players to have, absolutely worth buying. Saliba's 6.3 million, it's the same price as Gabriel, but Gabriel is the one you definitely want from those two. I meant to put Hall in a couple of weeks, sorry about that. He's up here because he's so popular, so he will do you the same damage as Trent if he does well and you don't own him. But I've got Saliba ranked higher than Hall, because I think Saliba over the next few weeks is going to get more points than Hall. So that, allowing for the ownership as well, Saliba's more important to own than Hall, but Hall will do you more damage if he does as well as Saliba. Sorry, it's so complex. And I'm sorry I'm taking so long. I'll try and go a bit quicker. And then Aina's quite popular, did well last week. And then Robinson, he's also quite popular and he got a clean sheet too. There's slightly less important defenders. We've got Virgil van Dijk, Gvardiol. Now, Man City, I know they've been rubbish recently. They've got Everton, Leicester, West Ham. If they win those three and they keep 3 clean sheets, everyone's going to be piling into Gvardiol, assuming he's still playing. You don't need to do that. I'm just warning you, he is going to get popular. A lot of managers are selling him at the moment. I've got him. I've got no intention of selling him. I intend to keep hold of him. Pedro Porro's dropping in popularity, which I think is a good thing because I think he's overpriced and he was overpopular. And we got Mazraoui. So Aiton Nouri, this is also based on my estimates for how many people are going to play these players. Someone like Aiton Nouri may be on a lot of people's benches, so I'm kind of allowing for that as well. He's in here because people have got more important things to do. So if anyone was wildcarding now, they wouldn't choose Aiton Nouri, and he's fine to move on. So it might be you've got Aiton Nouri and Saka. You want to sell Saka, sell Aiton Nouri, get in maybe Trent if you've not got him, and then another midfielder. It's okay to keep hold of Aiton Nouri. They've got a new manager. Let's see what he does with a new... Is he going to change the system? Is Aiton Nouri going to be a better player now? Is he going to introduce discipline so that he stops getting all his yellow cards? Who knows? So if I had Aiton Nouri and I don't think I have. No, I haven't. But if I did have him, there'd probably be more important things for me to deal with. But equally, it's fine to move him on. And then Burns in here because he used to be popular, but he's not going to do any damage. Mykolenko. So Mykolenko did well last game week. He's done well recently, but he's quite lowly owned. So he's not really doing you much damage. And then defenders that really don't matter. We have Konza, Lewis. Again, if Man City do well, upcoming fixtures, and Lewis plays, he's going to massively gain in popularity because he's only 4.6. If you've got him, you don't need to get rid of him unless you need to make space for Trent or Gabriel. Harwood Bellis, he got a clean sheet last week. That was nice. Van der Berg is injured, so don't go buying him. If you want to sell him, that's fine. But I'm leaving him in here because he's only 4.1. He could be back early or mid-January. So he releases money you can spend elsewhere. So you don't need to sell him. Just be aware that he's not going to be playing for a few game weeks. And then Greaves hasn't been playing recently, but he's only 3.9 million now. So that frees up a bit of money. And then Woutface, he's not played much recently, but he did play 45 minutes last game week. He's only 4 million. But they're just bench fodder. So for the midfielders, Salah is, for all intents and purposes, 100% owned among active managers. So if he scores 6 points and you don't own him, it's like you get -6 because everybody else around you move up by 6 points. Palmer's very highly owned. So if he gets 6 points, it's like you get -5.2. So there's a few managers that don't own him. So if you own Saka, but you're missing one of these two, it's absolutely worth trying to get one of these two in that you don't have. You want to have both of them. And Bremo is quite popular, but look, he's only a third of the popularity of Salah. He's only going to do a third of the damage, but he's a lot cheaper. One of the reasons he's so popular, apart from he does keep returning, is he is quite cheap. If he was 9 million, hardly anyone would own him. Then we have Fernandes. So Saka is out. So the players that people are bringing in are the likes of Fernandes, Luis Diaz, who we'll see shortly, Foden, a few bringing in Bremo. I've seen a few bringing in Maddison and Son. We don't know who the best midfielder is going to be to replace Saka. There's lots of chatter online. The reality is, in 2 or 3 weeks' time, we'll see which of these midfielders has done well, and loads of managers are going to pile into them. So if Fernandes does really, really well and the others don't, people would be selling their Fodens, Luis Diaz, Son, etc. to get Fernandes. And then Fernandes would be 60, 70, 80% owned. But it might not be him. It might be Foden. We just don't know. So we've got a couple of weeks where teams are going to be slightly less template because we don't know where the money's going to go, but it's going to become obvious soon. The reason I'm saying that is you want to replace Saka. If you get the wrong one, like you get Fernandes and it turned out Luis Diaz was better, don't fret about it. We can just fix it in a couple of weeks. We just don't know who it's going to be at the moment. And then Rodgers and Diaz, they're both quite popular. Diaz has massively grown in popularity, enough to put him on the first screen. I think last game week he was on the third screen, but because so many people are piling into him. Now, Liverpool may absolutely thrash Leicester this week, and Diaz may get 15 points or more, and if he does, his popularity is going to go up even more. But we don't know. He may not even play. He may get rested because it's only Leicester. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. Basically, loads of people online all saying, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Whoever gets the call right, some of them are then going to boast, hey, I told you it should have been so-and-so. The reality is they don't know. Absolutely, people don't know the best Saka replacement, which is why we just play the odds here. Second page in midfielders, Enzo, Ahmad, Bowen, Gordon, Son, Semenyo. All these are okay. The thing with Son, he is a good player, but he's very expensive. Personally, I wouldn't be replacing Saka with Son. In my opinion, the safest person to get is Fernandes. If you don't know what to do and you've got Saka, just get in Fernandes. Probably the next safest, probably Luis Diaz, even though he's a minute's risk, because he's gaining in popularity. Son may do fine, but he is expensive. So personally, I wouldn't go to Son, but he is a good player. And the other players on here, they're all quite good. I do like Gordon, and it may be that Gordon's the one that smashes it and he becomes the one that's really popular. And then the least important midfielders, Smith Rowe, bit of an injury concern there, but he's massively dropping in popularity. So if you want to offload him, that's fine. If you want to keep him, that's fine. But the midfield slot is really important, and you probably don't want Smith Rowe there at the moment. Johnson, I think, not worth having at the moment at 6.6 million. You could do something more useful with the money. McNeil, we're taking out the system. I think he's injured as well. Winks seems to be back now, but he's kind of more or less bench fodder. I should have made him green. Dibbling's bench fodder, but he's a great player. I really like him. I may get him depending on what I do with my team, but as bench fodder. Saka we're taking out because it looks like he's going to be out for weeks. And Garnacho, he's still in the system. Who knows, if he starts getting played and he does well, he's going to become popular, so I won't take him out yet. But if you've got Saka, sell him. If it takes you -4 because you've already done transfers, don't care. You still get rid of him because he's going to go down in price. Regarding the forwards, Isak is the most important forward at the moment by quite a stretch, I think. Yes, he's the most important. He's the one that's going to do the most damage, and he's still being bought by lots of managers. I don't have him at the moment. I don't know if I'm going to get him next game week or maybe a couple of game weeks after that. I genuinely don't know. It depends what happens with Kuna because I've got Kuna. But if he scores 6 points, you don't have him. That's like you get -4.5. If he gets 12, it's like you get -9. So for the sake of protection, if you can get Isak, you really should try and get him in. So some people are selling Saka and one of their forwards, for example, Kuna, to get Isak and maybe Fernandes, something like that. The trouble is Kuna's, at the time of recording, has not yet been banned. At home to Man United, he could easily get some decent points there. And it seems less likely he's going to get banned because surely everywhere is closing for Christmas. So who's going to ban him? Jackson, he's still quite important, but people are selling him. Again, I think they're moving to Isak, but he's going down slightly in popularity. But Jackson's a good player. Isak's a good player. Cunha's a good player, but because he's got this ban coming up, almost certainly he could miss 3, 6, 7 weeks. He's not worth getting. Wood is still a good player in as much as he ticks along. He's scoring more often than not, so he keeps getting 6-7 points. Haaland, so I've marked him as a good player because he is a good player. He could get lots of points, but if you've got him, you should probably sell him. You don't have to sell him, but you want to have Salah, you want to have Palmer, you want to have Isak. He's absolutely not worth buying. He's absolutely fine to sell, but I can't not mark him as a good player because he is a good player. So João Pedro's an okay player, but after this game week, the fixtures aren't quite so good. Away to Villa, then he's got Arsenal, and people want to free up a slot to get Isak. I've got João Pedro. I'm not swapping him for Isak because João Pedro's at home to Brentford. Brentford defensively, away from home, aren't great. Pedro might get something. But after this game week, I may be right to move him on. And then Solanke, he's not super popular. He won't do too much damage if you don't own him. He will do hardly any damage if you don't own him. But if you wanted to get him, that's all right. So on this page, the best forwards at the moment to have are probably Isak, Jackson, and then another, I guess. And then regarding the slightly less important forwards, we have Raul Jimenez. He's dropping in popularity. He won't do much damage. Havertz. So some people are now buying Havertz because selling Saka, they've got a free Arsenal slot, and Havertz seems a fair choice. Although I think more people are actually going for the midfielder Odegaard, who's not in the system. He's not popular enough. But Havertz isn't going to do you any damage. Watkins, he's not getting the minutes now. I think he may be slightly flagged. If you want to sell him, you can. In fact, I think it's if you've not got Isak, you swap Watkins for Isak. If you've got Watkins and Isak, but not Jackson, you might want to get in Jackson. Jackson, I think, is still on 4 yellow cards, so there is a slight risk he'd get banned. But if he doesn't get a yellow this game week or next game week, then he has to wait for the 10th yellow card, so he's going to be all right. Vardy, I really like Vardy, but he's very lowly owned. He's not going to do any damage. Liverpool, Man City, Villa's the next 3 games, not worth buying, really. Welbeck taking out the system, he seems to be injured and not playing enough, and their fixtures aren't great coming up. And then Cannon represents any 4.5 million forward who doesn't play, he just sits on your bench. So we're now going to look at the benching order, and the idea is, this is my suggestion of what the benching order should be, and if you blindly follow these instructions, I think you'll do all right. But if you want to do something different, that's absolutely fine as well. The first keeper you see that you've got, I suggest is the keeper that goes on your bench, which means the other one is the one you're playing. So Ward represents any 4 million keeper that doesn't even play. Then it'd be Henderson, Martinez, Pickford, Sales, Flecken, Fabianski, Sanchez, Raya. We'll now look at the other players. The first player you see that you've got, I suggest, is position 3 on your bench. The next one, position 2. And then the third one, position 1. So Greaves, probably not playing. Van der Berg's not playing. Any 4.5 million striker that doesn't play on your bench. Winks, Wout Fass, Aït-Nouri, Konza, Mikalenko, Harwood Bellis, Mazraoui, Smith Rowe, Garnacho, Johnson, Dibbling, Byrne, Pedro Porro, Robinson, Aina, Hall, Semenyo, Ahmad, Raul Jimenez, Vardy, Lewis, Solanke, Rogers, Enzo, Gordon, Mbeumo, João Pedro, Virgil van Dijk, Gvardiol, Saliba, Trent, Gabriel, Wood, Cunha, Watkins, Jackson, Bowen, Havertz, Son. And the only players I've not shown you now are the captains. Any on the next page, if you've got them, you're playing them above these. But they're also the captaincy choices. So potential captaincy choices: Salah at home to Leicester, by far the safest captain. He will be the most captained this week. That's probably who I'm going to go for. So he gets to wear the old Mule hat. But other options: Palmer's okay, Fernandez could be, Luis Diaz, Haaland even, or Isak. Any of these fine as your captain, any are fine as your vice captain. Don't choose Salah and Luis Diaz as captain and vice captain, just in case the game randomly gets postponed or abandoned, because then you obviously lose your double points. If you don't want to choose 2 of these, or you can't, then any of the green players that were forwards or midfielders in the previous pages, they're fine as well. As for the background picture, and this was really difficult to do with the AI because the AI is so stupid. I thought I'd do a nativity scene because it's Christmas with little Lego figurines. The tradition in our house, we have the main meal Christmas Eve, which is today. Then in the afternoon, we'll each get a little Lego figurine off the tree. Don't know what it is. You have to open it up and make it. And then we'll watch a Scooby-Doo. And I'll be there with my wine, and it's just a nice relaxing afternoon. So here's a nativity scene with the Lego figurines. And the reason it was difficult was the AI is just so stupid. Like sometimes the horses would have wings, like Pegasus, or baby Jesus wouldn't be there, or baby Jesus would have a full-grown beard, or there's no Mary, they're all dudes. It took a long time. Anyway, that's the background image. Thank you very much for watching. I hope that made sense, and I hope you have a nice Christmas and you enjoy the games on Boxing Day and the day after. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.